Okay, so this is going to be a demo about using track mats, shape layers, and keyframe animation in After Effects. So first I'm going to create a new composition from footage, and I'm going to navigate to my footage, which should be here. So the first thing that we're going to do is play with a little bit of track matting on top of that. So to make it clear, we're actually going to need a second piece of footage. So I'm going to use this footage. So a track mat is a way to sort of play with transparency and masks between two different layers. So you can also use masks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some text on this top layer, and I'm going to write, I'm meant to write hello. So on the right hand panel over here you can change your text settings. So I have this layer that says hello, and then I have this layer underneath it that is, I can turn this off, the video of our friend, and then on the very bottom we have the video of the eye. So there's all kinds of things you can do. Here you'll see I have a column that's track mat. If you don't see this column, you can right click columns and make sure modes is checked. So say I change this track mat to alpha mat hello. That creates basically a mat, a cutout, using the layer with the hello text. So let's see, you can also do an alpha inverted. So that creates a cutout that goes through the video of IMG 2830 on the beach, and so you see below it the eye trim layer. So you might want to just play with these to experience how they work. A LumaMat has a little bit of transparency built in. You can see the videos play between them, and then inverted, same thing but inverted. So that's something you can play with. Right now we're going to do no track mat. We're going to show our text. I'm going to now, we're going to delete our text for the moment. You can also make a mask on a layer. So with a layer selected, I have my top layer selected. If I go into the pen tool on the top left corner, I can drag to create a mask. So the reason that makes a mask is because we have that video layer selected. So when you put the pen tool on a selected video layer, it creates a mask. And so now you can see we have a mask that goes on top of IMG 2830, so that we're seeing the eye below, but with this mask video on top. You can also go into the layer. You see the mask here now in the layer, and you can invert it, right? You can also animate it. So something that's cool about After Effects is you can animate anything. So I have the mask path selected. I'm going to click the timer button here to initiate keyframes, and that will you'll see here that puts a keyframe at the beginning because our playhead is there saying start here in this position. And if I drag the playhead forward a little bit and I go into the mask and I select a point and I move it, you can also select multiple points for a keyframe and it will animate them accordingly. You can see that when I've done that and changed it, since we have initiated the keyframes, it's set a new one. And then I can keep dragging forward and changing, and keep dragging forward, changing, etc. etc. And you can do all kinds of weird overlapping stuff too. And now if I drag my playhead back, you can see that it's recorded the mask path changes along the way. Creating an animation. So I'm going to, in this moment, delete that mask. So right now we're just going to see this footage on top again, and you can also, there's a number of different layers you can make. I'm going to make a new shape layer. So with the shape layer selected, you can either go up to this drop down, there's this, some pre-made shapes you can use. You can also, again, use the pen tool to make your own shape. So I'm going to draw my own shape. On the screen there. And keep in mind that any shapes I draw on this shape layer will all like animate together. So right now I just want this one shape on my layer. So similar to the mask, this guy can be animated. Anything with a timer next to it can be animated. So you can animate the fill, for example, so I can have the color of this thing change. If I click the stopwatch, drag forward a little bit, and say at this point in time I want your color to shift to blue. Okay, so let's drag through and see what happens. So it undergoes this cool shift. Maybe I want its position to change as well. So I want it to go from here to here, and you can see, you can either change the X and Y variables here, or you can actually move it in the screen. So now we have it moving like that. You can change the scale, the rotation, the opacity as well. Say I want to, you can also animate the path, similar to what we did. The path is the series of vectors that compose the shape, so similar to what we did earlier with the mask. I can start there, and when I get here, I can, sometimes you have to do a little bit of clicking to activate the individual vector points of a shape or a mask. So for example, right now, if I go in and move it, I'm moving the whole thing. But if I click on a point with that selected, it gives me access to the single variable. You can change its handles, etc. So now we have this happening here. Great. So that's all for this video, and in the next one we're going to go over rotoscoping.